quickly look at the screen. An elephant hurriedly chases after the car. He chases and cries, tries using this method to force the car to stop. But the driver doesn't stop the car. So what happens in the end? Turns out the day before, when the baby elephant and his mother were drinking water together by the lake, the mother elephant accidentally fell into a deep mud puddle, couldn't stand up on her own, looked at the mother elephant lying there barely alive. The smart baby elephant ran to the main road, sought human help. He saw the car going ahead, so he chased after it like crazy, because the mother elephant is in a precarious situation. But the driver thought that this baby elephant was playing with him. To avoid hurting the little elephant, he quickly accelerated. The baby elephant looked like he was going crazy trying to chase after him, and kept making cries of pain. If something unusual happens, there must be a cause. The young man driving the car suddenly felt it. Surely the baby elephant had encountered some difficulties. So he decided to follow him to investigate the situation. He slowly drove behind the baby elephant. The baby elephant walked away, then ran towards the mother elephant lying in the mud. Very quickly the group of young men came to the dry mud puddle. They were extremely surprised by the scene before their eyes. Half of a big elephant's body had sunk into the mud. If not rescued, then she would be forced to die here. It turned out the baby elephant chased their car, just to beg humans to save his mother. Looked at the mother elephant lying there, barely breathing. The group of young men quickly brought a thick rope. The plan is to pull the mother elephant out of the mud. They put a rope around the mother elephant's body. Then they joined forces to pull towards one side. Continuously pull the rope backward, as they faced this huge animal. Even though they tried their best, the mother elephant still lay motionless in the mud puddle. In the end, all their efforts failed. Afterward, these young men carried a piece of wood and placed it behind the mother elephant. They joined forces to pull the rope again. 2 other people moved the log, intended to use this method to save the mother elephant. They pulled up the huge elephant, but when they released the rope, it fell again, because the mother elephant had been stuck here for hours. The thoughtful young man realized that she was hungry, so they kept feeding her food. Mother elephant ate her fill. Because of the hot weather, they were afraid the mother elephant might get heat stroke. So they brought water pipes to help her cool down her body temperature. Going through a rapid cool down process, the mother elephant's body gradually recovered to normal. At that moment, the group of young men continued to use force. Tried pulling the mother elephant up, but don't know why, the mother elephant fell again. She lay there motionless, looked like she was about to die. Seeing the pitiful mother elephant, the people quickly contacted the local veterinarian to find a way to keep her alive. Time gradually passed. The mother elephant also showed signs of life. She was eventually pulled back from the brink of life. Seeing this scene, we couldn't help but cry. It looked like the mother elephant was sick. They were forced to quickly take her to the hospital for treatment. They then contacted an excavator, intended to use the power of machines to save her. When the excavator slowly moved, the mother elephant was finally rescued from the mud. If you've seen this far and haven't left yet, then please leave a message of peace and luck. Hopefully, the mother elephant can safely overcome the danger to return and reunite with her baby. This wild horse stood in front of the moving excavator, wanted to force the driver to stop the car. Some minutes ago, the guy driving the excavator was walking on the grass. 2 wild horses suddenly chased after him. One of them even ran up to block the car. Another one was looking worriedly into the distance, saw the unusual actions of the 2 horses. The driver stopped the car and followed them. Soon he discovered a wild horse lying on the ground. The horse's hind hoof was entangled in the steel wire and could not move. He was almost exhausted now and just opened his eyes slightly. Lying on the ground barely breathing. Now everyone understands. The reason why the 2 horses took the risk of stopping the carriage was to beg humans to come save his friend. What smart horses they are. The guy decided to rescue this poor wild horse. He took a pair of pliers from the car, cut each steel wire hooked to the horse's leg. Do a good deed of immeasurable merit. Let's recite together the phrase, win instant success, to wish the wild horse a successful escape. People sitting in front of the screen. Together with all the good people in this world, the future will be favorable and peaceful. Everything is as desired. Even when the tool wasn't too convenient, the guy still worked patiently. By constant efforts, finally, he cut off all the steel wires attached to this wild horse's leg. Everyone joined forces to pull this pile of steel wires out into the distance. But because the horse had been stuck for so long, everyone tried to help him up. After continuously pushing twice, the horse still couldn't stand up successfully. The boy brought clean water to replenish the horse's water. The horse was probably very thirsty. He opened his mouth and gulped down. After resting for a while longer, the horse's physical strength had recovered. Finally, he was able to stand up. But the horse didn't leave immediately. He just hangs around nearby, even though he doesn't know how to talk. He tries to use continuous nodding to extend his gratitude to his benefactor. Finally, the kind guy even encouraged everyone to clean up the surrounding steel wire. Only when they had finished did they leave the scene. Thank you to the kind people who participated in rescuing the wild horse. Wishing good people a lifetime of peace. A small deer is running towards humans. Immediately after that, he kneels on the ground. What happens in the end? To make the deer stop him on the road regardless of his safety? He slowly lowers his body and looks to one side, as if trying to express that there's something over there that needs the guy's help. The ancients had a saying that if a creature stands in the way, it is not a matter of gratitude, but of thanks. Sees the deer acting strangely. The man decides to follow him to investigate clearly. When he follows the deer to the frozen lake, he feels surprised to discover two deer lying on the ice. Looking closely, he realizes that a female deer and a male deer fell into the icy lake. It turned out that the young deer had disregarded his safety to stop the young man. Because he wanted him to save his trapped parents, the man is moved by that love and goes to the lake to help. But the male deer seems scared. He keeps running away into the icy lake. The man can only save the female deer first. 5 minutes later, he successfully rescues the female deer. For safety, he carefully pushes the doe back to shore. After getting ashore, he gives the female deer a strong push. But since she soaked in the water for hours, the deer has to spend a lot of strength to stand up. The rescued female deer quickly runs back to the forest. Perhaps she wants to find her child. But the male deer isn't very coordinated, so the man has to think of another way. Half an hour later, the man calls his friend to help. They dug a path on the ice, then slowly pulled the male deer to shore. Under their tireless efforts, the male deer is finally rescued. Due to being stuck in cold water for too long, his body gets so cold that he faints. The kind guy keeps massaging his body. Hope it helps him feel a little warmer. But the male deer still shows no signs of waking up. The guy has to build a fire next to him. Hope he can help the deer wake up quickly. Another guy kneels to help him massage the deer's frozen leg. About 20 minutes later, the male deer finally wakes up. But he feels so cold, so he fails to stand up. The kind-hearted guy can't bear to leave him alone, so he uses a car to tow him home for treatment. After returning home, he continues to help the deer exercise his legs. Waits until his body becomes a little softer. He brings food to feed him so that the deer will replenish his strength. Under their attentive care all night long, the male deer gradually regains his energy and can sit up on his own. Early the next morning, the young man opens the door. The male deer quickly runs towards the forest, goes looking for his wife and son. But a week later, the male deer comes to the man's house again. He stands there looking at the young man. Next, a miraculous scene happens. He jumps around and leaves one of his horns behind. Then he looks at the man as if saying, "This horn is given to you." The deer knows that humans really like deer horns. After leaving behind a horn, he decides to leave. The man also feels very surprised as he holds the deer's horn. He didn't expect the deer would use this way to thank him. Look, this adult deer is so pitiful. His horn was tied tightly to a wooden stake by a rope. At that moment, the elk continued to struggle. But he still failed to get out. If he wasn't detected by humans, he would starve to death here. Fortunately, while this deer was desperate and helpless, he was discovered by a man on a farm. Saw the man approaching. The deer became even more scared. Because he didn't know, would this person hurt him? He could only keep struggling. The guy knew that he alone wouldn't be able to save the deer, so he called his father. At that moment, the elk again failed to move. Due to constant struggling, the two father and son quickly deployed aid. They used scissors and carefully cut the mesh wire on the horns of the elk. Perhaps this time the elk also felt that these kind people were helping him, not wanting to harm him, so he didn't struggle anymore. He tried to coordinate with their help. Everyone knows that deer are considered gods in this country. They are the symbol of living long and healthy. If your family members are lucky enough to see this video, tell them to please leave a heart button and comment below, so in the coming days, you will definitely be healthy and live a long life. Everything goes as planned. Because there were too many mesh wires wrapped around the antlers, the young man failed to rescue the elk in a short time. Suddenly the elk began to struggle. Perhaps the elk wanted to see his wife and children at home. He hadn't come back for a long time. He was afraid that his wife and children might be worried, so he tried his best to escape the rope. But the young man didn't give up the rescue. They waited for the deer to slowly calm down, and continued to do their work. Fortunately, the deer met a kind father and son. If he encountered a fearsome hunter, the consequences would be terrible. Every day doing a good deed will earn you 3,000 merits. With the efforts of the two father and son, they managed to untie the elk's rope. At that moment, the frightened elk also used all his strength to run back into the forest. Heaven and earth have love. Humans also have love. This is the end of the video. Let us praise the good father and son. Good people will have a peaceful life.